I'm really just trying to understand this bill, and I want to support it. You got a lot of support behind it, but I just want to clarify. I think one of excuse me.
Mr. Money, over the last 6 months or so, I've needed a lot of clarification myself.
Well, thank you. And we've spent some time talking with some of the same stakeholders you're talking with, and I think where I'm coming from is I think that Texas's current law is clear on that the life of the mother should be protected. I think it is clear. I think the Supreme Court it has supported that. I think that the problem we're trying to solve is that there have been some malicious interpretations of the existing law, which I think is a good law, that have left some doctors in a situation that they are unclear about what they're supposed to do. And I think people that want to promote abortion have tried to make it murky what our current law is. And so my question is to you, is this law written to ensure that malicious actors won't be able to find loopholes to allow abortions that would not be allowed under our current law?
Medical malpractice is still allowed under this law, and the answer to that is yes. What we are trying to achieve here is a doctor under current law can go to jail for the rest of his life. A doctor under this current law can lose his medical license, and that's why some have been very indecisive. Lawyers that represent hospitals or any other clinic where an emergency surgery may take place are concerned and are afraid to advise a physician or a hospital that it's okay to proceed with that abortion. And this law clarifies that and gives them some clarity so they can go forward without fear of going to jail for the rest of their life.
Yes, and to be clear, I don't want anybody going to jail for doing whatever needs to be done to try to save the life of a mother who is pregnant. What I also don't want to do is shift the pendulum in the other direction so that doctors are able to concoct or find a way to perform an abortion that they wouldn't be able to under our law. And so you're saying that has been addressed and taken care of?
That has been addressed, and as I said, medical malpractice law is not being changed by this, and we are in no way promoting abortion on this. What we are trying to do is save the life or the bodily functions, major bodily functions of a mother. And I get a little emotional about this, but I've got friends who watch their wives nearly bleed out and become septic, and that's the driver in this bill. In fact, a staffer, good friend of mine, that nearly happened to his wife just this past year.
Right, and we've seen those things in the news, and it's happened to people that we know. And I certainly want there to be clarity on being able to protect mothers who are at risk, but what I don't want to say is, well, they're emotionally at risk, or they're, they could possibly, in some very remote chance, have some negative impact. So we're going to go ahead and kill a perfectly viable life.
In the bill, they have to use reasonable medical judgment, which has been defined and is supported by the board of the medical board. And so if that's happening, and a complaint can still be filed against a doctor for doing that, and but they would then have to show they use reasonable medical judgment in order to do that. And this not only protects the doctor, but it protects the nurses, the technicians, whomever is involved in the procedure. I've got a real good pro-life voting record in this house, and I want to maintain that. But I'm gonna fight to the end to make sure that we protect the doctors who are taking care of these mothers who might otherwise die.
Yes, and I want to make sure that we do exactly what you just said we would do, but that we don't leave an opening for doctors whose only goal is to try to help people have abortions. You understand that?
I do understand that, but I don't believe that this bill does that, and I don't believe that Senator Hughes would have been able to get it out of the Senate 31-0 if that were the case. I can assure you, knowing Senator Hughes for as long as I have, I promise you, they've addressed that. And
I agree with you.
And I'm not a lawyer, so.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you for your questions.